this crime in its entirety. You may proceed, but please start from the beginning.
For the most wild tale which I am about to tell, I can neither expect nor solicit belief. Mad indeed would I be to expect it, yet mad am I not. Very surely do I not dream, for tomorrow I die. And today I wish to unburden my soul. My express purpose in appearing before you all is to lay before the world plainly a series of mere household events. Nevertheless, events that have terrified and destroyed me.
Go on.
When I married at a very young age, my wife saw my love of domestic animals and spared very little time nor expense in procuring for me as many as she possibly could. Oh, and many we had. But the story is about one animal in particular. A cat, actually. Now this cat, whom I named Pluto, was an enormous, beautiful, and entirely jet black animal, and he was the one that I liked best out of all of them. My wife was a bit superstitious and claimed he could be a witch in disguise. So I alone fed him. But in turn, he followed me all around the house and even in the streets. Now this beautiful relationship of ours lasted for many a year. That is, till I began to change. For the worst. See, I grew day by day more irritable, more moody, more regardless of the feelings of others. And though I tried not to hurt anyone, this disease, you see, it grew within me, and it took hold of me. I drank more and more each day, much more than I should. To that effect, one evening I came home very much intoxicated to find that the cat avoided my presence. This angered me greatly, so I seized him. But just then, the cat, in his fright at my violence, he inflicted a slight wound upon my hand, just a nip. But the fury of a demon instantly possessed me, and I knew myself no longer, so I withdrew from my waistcoat pocket a small pocket knife, opened it, grabbed the poor beast by the throat, and I deliberately cut one of the eyes from his socket. I shudder. I blush even as I tell this horrible deed.
And so then what transpired after you gouged the eyeball from the poor beast?
Well, the cat slowly recovered after this. No longer appearing to be in any pain, he was free to move about the house as usual. But as might be expected, he fled at any sight of me. And this began to anger me. And so, one morning in cold blood, I slipped a noose about his neck, and I hung him from the limb of a tree. But this had to be done, friends. I had to do this, even if it placed my soul far beyond the reach of the most merciful God. I hung him with tears streaming down my face because I knew that he had left me, that he had made no offense. But after this heinous act had been committed, and I thereafter retired to my bed for my slumber, I did not sleep well that night at all, and was in fact awoken shortly afterwards by the sounds of fire. The curtains of my bed were in flames, the whole house was blazing. It was with great difficulty that my wife and I made our escape. But the deconstruction was complete. All my wealth, my worldly possessions, gone. Gone, all burnt up! I resigned myself to despair and squalor, moving from tavern to tavern as I could not bear the sight of our filthy poverty any more than I possibly had to. And this went on for months, until one evening, as I sat at my local tavern, half drunk as usual, my attention was drawn a small object in the corner of the room. And as I approached, it slowly came into focus. A cat! A cat almost entirely like Pluto, save for a small patch of white upon this otherwise black cat. Oh, I reach out my hand, and to my surprise, the cat rose, then pushed itself affectionately against me. Seeing as it had taken a liking to me, I offered to buy it off the innkeeper. But he claimed he had never seen it before. Well, my new friend and I straightway made for home, where he domesticated himself at once and became a great favorite with my wife. But as for me, I soon found a dislike for it, arising within me. And though this is just the opposite of what I had intended, not only did I feel myself feeling disgust and annoyance at this beast, but also a growing dread as well. This is no doubt on account of the fact that after we brought him home, we discovered that, like Pluto, he too was missing an eye. And the patch of white upon his breast over time began to resemble that of the hangman's noose. But the circumstance, however, only endeared it to my wife even more. And though I avoided this creature at every possible turn, I found this vile beast would not give me a moment's peace. It followed me around the house. If I sat in my chair, it would get beneath me. If I arose to walk, it would get between my feet and thus nearly throw me down. And though I dared not lay a finger on this animal, I began to hate this cat. Evil thoughts became the sole thoughts in my head. The moodiness of my usual temper grew to the hatred of all things and of all mankind.
What did you then do as your rage grew?
One evening, my wife asked me to retrieve something from the cellar of our home. I descended the steep steps, and the beast pursued me, thus nearly throwing me headfirst to the bottom. I snapped! My fear of this beast would stay my hand no longer, so I withdrew from the wall an axe, and I swung in my wrath, to which I aimed a blow at the cat. And I tell you, friends, it would have been a fatal blow on that animal had it not been for the intervening hand of my wife. Enraged by her interference, I withdrew my hand from her grasp, and I buried the axe in her brains. No. No! Oh God! Oh God, please no! Oh God! I have to hide the body. Yes, the well outside. No, the neighbors might see. Yes. Yes, they'll chop it up into a million pieces and light it on fire. No, the smell. Oh God, please stop. Please. Please stop. Please stop. Finally, I concluded that I must wall it up in the cellar, like the middle-aged monks would have done. Oh, friends, there was no doubt in my mind that I could readily remove the stones from the wall, insert the body of my wife, and then wall the whole up as before, so that no eye could tell the difference. So, by means of a crowbar, I began to pick at the stones, one by one. Then I deposited the body of my wife propped in an upright position up against the inner wall. And then after replacing the stones, I prepared a plaster. It could not be distinguished from the old. And I went over the new brickwork so that no mortal soul could tell what had transpired there. The deed was done. And the best part, that damn cat never returned. Though I did not search for it. But I tell you, friends, I slept in bliss each night. Neighbors stopped by, asking of my dear wife's health. Oh, but I answered them with ease. Fear not, friends, she's just away. But then several officers of the law approached my home, intent on searching the premises. Well, seeing as they could not find a shred of evidence to my guilt, I allowed them to search the house, bit by bit. Oh, and search they did, hours upon hours, searching every nook and cranny until at last they were satisfied and prepared to depart. My clever planning had fooled them. And in my triumph and my desire to make doubly sure of my guiltlessness in their eyes, I cried, "Gentlemen, I am delighted to hear of my innocence and hope you have enjoyed your stay in my humble home. Well, this is a fine old house, is it not? Oh, the walls, yes, the walls of this house are very sturdy indeed." And as I spoke, I struck with my stick the very spot behind which lay my dead wife. But no sooner had the reverberation of my blow sunk into silence than it was answered by a cry from within the tomb, muffled like that of a child, but growing, a wailing, a screaming now, sounding like the voices of the damned, crying out in pure agony, and the demons delighting in their torment. In my torment! For a second, the police officers stood looking at each other. Then quickly, they began to pick at the stones, one by one, until at last they uncovered the rotting and decaying corpse of my wife. And atop it sat that hideous beast, his red maw agape and his hideous filthy eye of fire. He had been the one crying out his revenge. The cat whose craft seduced me into murder, and whose settling voices sentenced me to death. To the hangman. I had walled the monster up within the tomb.